Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back here with another video, and today I decided to bring this video where I'm going to be introducing you guys to a very famous library in React called Chart.JS. This library is very intuitive but also really cool. And it allows you to create all sorts of charts to use in your applications. So I created this example over here, and it is basically what we're going to be building. It isn't a complicated example. Its main purpose is just for you guys to be able to see like how to use the library and get a feel of how to actually implement it in your applications. And I'm going to show for three different types of charts, right? We're going to do one for a line chart, one for a bar chart, and one for a pie chart. So keep in mind, those are the three that we're going to be working with. They're not very different, but they're going to require us to make some changes. Now, if you want to check out the code will be in the description. And before we get into the video, I just wanted to make this quick announcement, which is I actually created a Discord server for our channel. It is a community which I really hope to grow, where we're able to help each other out whenever we need. I'm always there. Trying to talk to you guys, making announcements, future events, everything that you can possibly imagine that I could do in my community. It's my plan, because I really want to get to know all of you. I really want to help you guys and allow you guys to help each other. If you want to showcase projects, you can also do that there. So if you want to check that Discord server, the link for it will be in the description. So yeah, that's basically it. Let's get into the tutorial. Okay everyone, so as you can see, I already created the React application over here. I basically didn't do anything. All I did was I ran create React app, and I deleted the necessary files that come with it, only keeping the ones that you see over here. I also deleted the import for the index.css from the index.js, but it doesn't matter unless you're doing this exact same thing. But as you can see, our app component is pretty empty, and what we want to do is we want to first install the necessary packages to make Chart.js work in React. So there's two packages you need. The first one is the Chart.js like core library, which is just Chart.js. And this is the core library. It is used for any kind of application, not just React applications. However, in order to facilitate us creating our charts in React, what we usually do is we use a wrapper for Chart.js that exists in React called ReactJS 2. So this is the library that we're going to be using. It is a very famous library, well maintained, and it allows us to implement the charts in a very easy way in React. So while that is installing, I want to show you guys something. So what I want to do for this is I do need some data to make the charts, right? And I guess that if you're watching this video, either you're just trying to learn, you don't have a specific use case right now, or you have a specific use case right now where you already have data and you want to create a chart with it. So what I'm going to do is I want to create some fake data over here to use as this example. However, when you're working with by yourself, just use whatever data you want. Just keep in mind that your data should make sense. Like it should make sense to display that piece of data as a chart, right? Because some types of data don't work well with charts. But what we're going to be doing is I'm going to create this array called user data, and as you saw in the beginning, we're going to basically create an example where it's just a chart displaying user growth in the year by year, right? So we have 2016, 2017, all of those years, and each year we display how many users some sort of website gained, and that's the example we're going to be using. So I'm going to stop the video right here just to fill in the data, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so as you can see, I filled in the data. The data format is pretty simple. I kept it as simple as possible. I divided it by years. So the first year has an ID 1. It has the year in which this occurred, and the amount of users that the website gained and the amount of users that the website lost. I did this 5 times, and those are the pieces of data that we're going to be using. But again, you can do it however you want based on yours. It doesn't have to be this kind of data, right? So we're going to be using this, and if you want to check this out, the code with this data is in the description. So what we want to do is we want to come to our app component, and our packages are already installed. So we're going to start by using them inside of this component. So this is where we're going to be displaying our charts, right? So how you create a chart is by actually coming over here and creating some sort of folder called components. And we're going to create an individual component for each kind of chart. So like, for example, if I want to have a line chart, I'm going to create a component called line chart. If I want to have a bar chart, I can create a component called bar chart. And we're going to customize it inside of the component. So the first one will actually be a bar chart. I'll say bar chart.js. And I'm going to run a snippet to create the component over here. This is basically how you create a component. And inside of the bar chart, this is where we're going to be implementing the stuff related to Chart.JS. We're going to come over here, and I'm going to import from Chart.JS, the second one, the ReactJS 2. And this library already includes the different types of charts that we can create. For example, I'm going to be using the bar component that comes with this library to create a bar chart. Now, how exactly will I use that component? Well, the first thing I want to do is delete this over here and just call the bar component. This component takes in, it can take in a lot of props, but mainly it will take in these two props. The first one is called data, and the second one is called options. So right now, let's just focus on the data one. The data one is, as the name sounds, the data that you want to be using for this chart. So since we're going to be reusing this bar chart whenever we need a chart, it is good for you to create the data or pass the data as props to this component. So I'll just create a prop called chart data, and I'll pass it over here. So when I come to my app.js, which is the app component, and I want to call this bar chart or display this bar chart, I'll come over here, call it, and then I'll pass the chart data as props to this, so that if I want to reuse it, I can reuse it with different kinds of data, right? So what kind of data do we want to display here? And I'll deal with the options in a bit. So what kind of data do we want to display here? Well, there's a very specific format of how your data must look for it to fit this chart. And the way we do this is we're going to create over here a component. I like to use it, not a component, a state. I like to use a state for this. And we'll just call it the state for the user data. So I'll say use state, and I'll pass over here user data. And then we'll create a function called set user data, like this. But you can do it however you want, but this is the way I want to do it. So user data will be a state holding the data formatted for this bar chart. So we're gonna grab the data that we created from this thing over here by saying import, then saying from /data. And I'm going to grab the user data over here. Now this over here is the list that we have inside of this thing, but it isn't the kind of format that Chart.JS requires. Actually, Chart.JS requires an object which contains two different properties. The first one is labels, and the second one is the data sets or data sets, like this. And this is an array. So I'll just create the array. So what exactly is labels? Well, labels is just a list of all the labels that represent each bar, right? So if we have a bar chart, this would be the ears. So each bar represents a different ear. So if we have a line chart, this would be similar as well. It would be each point in the line chart would be represented by the ears. So we put an array in order of which ears, in order of how we want to display that in the chart. So in our case, we want to create an array and put it over here, which contains 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 in that order, because it's the order that makes sense, right? So that's what we want to put over here. something like 2016, 2017, but just writing down, like, it doesn't make sense because maybe you have a lot of pieces of data, so you don't want to keep writing each one of them individually over here. So what we can do is we can just grab the user data, then say .map. We're going to loop through this list and just grab each year, or each, I'll just call it data. And then all we want to put in this new array is the data.year. So for those who are not familiar with map, basically this will create a new array and put it directly over here, where the only thing that exists in this array is the year for each element in user data. Now that we have this done, our label should be right. Let's focus on the data sets. So for the data sets, we only have one, right, which is the user growth per year. So we'll put an object over here, and we'll only have one object. This object will contain a label, not labels, a label. So the label would be something like, for our case, we can just put something like number of users gained, or I'll just say users gained over here. Just like, what does this piece of data represent? Then we have to put the actual data. So we're going to come over here and say data. And what is the data that we're displaying here? Well, it's just the amount of users gained. So we can do something similar to here. We need to pass an array containing the value of each bar. This is the label of each bar, and this is the value of each bar. So in our case, what the value should be representing is the user gain per year. So we're going to say user gain. Then we can put some cool stuff that will make our chart look better. But for now, I'll just keep it like this, just so we have a simple view of a bar chart. And I'll just copy this user data, pass it over here, and you can see it's giving us some errors because we haven't filled in the options yet. So the options actually isn't required, but I just wanted to show you guys that you can add some stuff to here. You can check out in the documentation everything that you can put in here to customize your chart. The more useful stuff is like changing the aspect ratio, adding some animations, stuff that you might want to do, but I specifically don't want to do it for this tutorial. So I'm going to delete over here the options, and we should be fine, right? But you can see we are not, and this is actually something that a lot of people deal with in the beginning. It's an error that we can fix that doesn't allow us to have our charts correctly. So the way we fix this is we come over here at the top to where we have our bar chart, and we just import from Chart.JS. We'll say from Chart.JS /auto, and we import the chart as Chart.JS. We have to do this or else it won't work, because as you can see, when I save it, this appears, which means it is working, right? It is a bar chart including our data. Obviously it is massive, so I want to actually change that. And the way I'm going to change that is I'm just going to come over here, add a div around our bar chart, and just add a width to it. So I'll say style, and it is responsive. So if I add a width of something like I'll put 700 pixels, you'll see that it looks pretty nicely, right? Maintains the ratio perfectly. So right now it looks okay. I mean, we obviously don't have any colors or anything, so we're going to actually implement that right now. So the first thing we can implement is adding some background color to this. So we have 5 different bars. So we can add individually the background color for each of the bars by adding the background color property over here, like this. And this it's an array. So for each bar, you add a color. For example, if I want to make the first one red, I can literally just say red, and all of them will become red. You can use green, blue if you want to, green. I'll just put blue over here since this is an array, and I will keep alternating. Basically, if you want to maintain one color individually for each, you do need to put a color for each of the bars individually. So the way we're going to do this is we're just going to manually add 5 different colors. I already copied here the list that I used in the beginning of the video, but I chose these colors because they look kind of nice, and I wanted to show you guys that you can actually use different types of colors for each one of them, right? You can see this is how they're looking right now. You can use RGB, you can use hexadecimal colors, you can just write red, green, and blue like I showed you. But basically, we're able to color our bars, right? So what else can we do? Well, you can see this is looking kind of plain. We can actually add a border color to each of these bars, right? And to do that, we just come over here and we add a border color by saying border color, and then we can make it black. So I'll just say black, and we can add a width to that border by saying border width. If you want to play around with this, I would recommend looking at the documentation, because you can see this is how it looks now. Some people like this, some people don't, but I find it better to have a border just so you can see it better. But basically, this is how you add a border to your bar. And the good thing is that if we want to change this, for example, right now it's users gained, right? But if you recall, in our data, we have users lost, right? So we can actually change this really easily to users lost by changing this to users lost, and this, which is our data, to user lost. And you can see that now it shows how many users the company or the website lost each year. Now, how do we transition into making a line graph? Well, you'll see that it is super simple because of how easy it is to transition using the same components. Every component in Chart.js uses this very similar kind of format for the data. So if I came over here and change this to a line chart like this, actually I'll just create a new one. It makes a lot more sense. So I'll come over here and say line chart.js, and I'll literally just copy everything over here, paste it over here, and then just change this to line chart, and this to line chart as well. And instead of grabbing the actual bar as a component from Chart.js 2, we'll just grab the line component, which, as the name sounds, it creates a line chart. We'll put the line over here, and if we just replace this with a line chart like this, line chart, you should see that it actually shows a line chart. And it looks pretty nice, right? Like it's obviously not perfect, right? Our data is very, how can I say, like, it's not very, like, it has a peak, it goes down, because this is for the users lost. But if we go for the users gained, it will look a little bit better. Like, I'll change this to users gained again, and this to users gained, and you should see that it looks a little bit better. There's many things you can do. For example, add like higher values for your y-axis and maybe higher values for your x-axis as well. Doesn't have to follow that pattern. You can see the colors are changing because we added all of those background colors to match this. But for a line, that doesn't really make sense. So in something like this, we don't actually need that. We can just remove this, and all of them will be the same colors. For a line chart makes sense, but for a bar chart doesn't. So those are the small things you can play around with to match whatever you want. So this is how you do a line chart, right? Now, how do we do a pie chart, which is the last one I said I was going to do? Well, a pie chart is exactly the same, but a little bit different, right? We'll just create a new component, call it pie chart.js. Just copy everything again, copy, paste, change this to pie, then paste this over here, and then pie over here, and legit, it just works perfectly because all of them take in similar formats. So instead of saying line chart, I can say pie chart, and you'll see that we now have a beautiful pie chart, which obviously looks ugly because we set it to be one color. But I'll zoom out actually so we can see all of them together. But if we want to set the colors, we can do the same thing we did with this one over here. Just paste the different colors for the background, and you can see that now the pie chart has different colors, which is really nice. you can see that the good thing about Chart.js is that this hovering thing, right, which I always liked. You can hover over the thing and it basically just shows you the value. And I really love this because it is like, if this is the first time you're doing charts and web dev, you're probably impressed as I was when I first did this, because it is super easy to do this. And the results look amazing, right? It looks very professional. You can use this in many places in your website, especially in a dashboard, because it will make it look really nice. So yeah, that's basically it. If you want a more in-depth video on Chart.js, I'm definitely open to making it. I just wanted to show the basics because I feel like many tutorials like doing that, like just going straight to the point, showing you exactly what you need to just implement it, and knowing that you guys can also figure out some stuff on your own, which is one of the most important skills that a developer needs to have. I just gave you the first introduction to this, and if you want to check out more stuff that you can do with Chart.js, just look at the documentation, which I will link in the description. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment down below what you want to see next. Subscribe because I'm posting every week and I would massively appreciate it. Come to my Discord server because I'm going to be helping people there, and the link over there will be in the description. And yeah, that's basically it. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I see you guys next time.